Still, verse 10, still another person is given the ability to speak in tongues, unknown languages. This is the most divided thing in the entire church, but that means it's probably one of the most powerful things for the entire church. Nobody game plans against players that sit on the bench and can't affect the game. Good coaches will always game plan against the best player. What makes you think the enemy is not game planning against tongues? Because it can build up the church. It can build up believers. That's why it's so divided, because it's so powerful. Well, don't preach on it. Like, I don't really like this. There are more chapters about speaking in tongues than any of the other gifts. But it's the one I don't talk about at all. And then I wonder why I'm not built up. I'm not edified. I feel uncomfortable talking about this. Can I tell you in 1 Corinthians 14, it tells you what it does. It's not crazy. It's not mysterious. It's a secret language. It's a heavenly language. But what it came to do is not, in 1 Corinthians 14, it's right at the beginning. It says, when somebody prays, when someone prays in tongues, they are strengthened. When somebody speaks in tongues along with an interpreter, the church is strengthened. It brings strength. That's what it does. You ever went to coffee with like a really close, intimate friend, and you sit down and you just begin to talk about things you would never talk about? You start using weird code that only you and them know. You start talking about the thing that happened in 1998 back in the day, You leave that conversation what? Strengthened, because there was a greater intimacy. If I can do that with somebody like my friend, what makes you think God didn't send a language that's just between me and him? That's not crazy. That's not weird. That shows intimacy. He loves us so much, he gave a whole language just for me to be a part of. It's intimacy. It's intimacy. And if humans can develop language, what makes you think the God that created humans can develop language? When I was in high school, I used to work at Party City. And when you were an employee, there was a special code that only employees knew. If I heard on the intercom, Tyler, clean up on aisle 11, everyone else in the store, that just meant clean up on aisle 11. But because I was an employee, I knew there was no aisle 11. And that meant somebody was trying to steal something, go get next to the door. To everyone else in the room, that meant nothing. To me, it prepared me for the enemy attacking. If we can develop secret languages amongst ourselves, what makes you think God didn't give us a secret language in speaking and praying in tongues that helps us prepare for when the enemy attacks? Because Satan speaks in English, he speaks in Spanish, he cannot speak in tongues because it requires the Holy Spirit, and he does not have the Holy Spirit. The enemy can't hear. Talk about intimacy. You know, when you talk with your spouse, your loved one, your friends, whatever, and you close the door, you're in the car alone, no recorders, no nothing, nothing's there. That's when you can really talk. If we do that with our personal relationships, what makes you think the Holy Spirit doesn't crave the same thing? What makes you think that? But we've made it weird. Why? It's just, it's heavenly language. It's a secret language. If God can create the cosmos, what is a language to him? What, he just stopped creating things the moment? No. But I know people say, well, I don't pray in tongues, man. You don't pray enough in English to know if you pray in tongues. You haven't spent enough time close to the Holy Spirit to even know what he does offer you. Well, I think anyone that prays in tongues, that's kind of weird. No. That's intimate. You know what's weird? You not praying in English. That's weird. We've made praying in tongues weird. No. Not praying in my native tongue's weird when I know that he died for me on the cross. Like I said, I'm not over here to teach all the different types and within Acts 2 and okay, is it the evidence, not the initial? That's not what I'm here to ask you. Do you have an intimate relationship with Jesus where you would even know if you have gifts?